The following information is provided for educational purposes only and in no way constitutes legal, tax, or financial advice. For legal, tax, or financial advice specific to your business needs, we encourage you to consult with a licensed attorney and/or CPA in your state. The following information is copyright protected. No part of this lesson may be redistributed, copied, modified, or adapted without prior written consent of the author. A limited liability company, abbreviated LLC, is a hybrid between a corporation and a partnership. An LLC protects your assets in the event of a lawsuit. In order to form your LLC, you must file LLC formation documents and pay the state filing fee. Once your documents are approved and sent back to you, your LLC is now in existence and authorized to do business in the state. Before completing your LLC formation documents, you need to have two things completed. First, make sure you've watched the lesson on researching your LLC's name. Your desired LLC name must be available for use before you proceed. Second, make sure you have watched the lesson on registered agent and that you've made your selection. Now, let's discuss your LLC formation documents. The name of the LLC formation documents for the state of North Carolina are called the Articles of Organization and the Cover Sheet. These documents are not complicated, and they contain basic information, including listing your registered office and registered agent. They will also require you to list your LLC's name and the names and addresses of your LLC's members. We will walk you through the details of the Articles of Organization and the Cover Sheet in just a couple minutes, and we will make sure that you get it filled out correctly. Once your Articles of Organization and Cover Sheet are complete, you will need to mail them to the state along with the filing fee. You will find the filing fee amount, the accepted forms of payment, and the address where to mail your documents to listed below this video. You will also be able to download both the Articles of Organization and the Cover Sheet. Just look below this video and you'll see the download links. Once you mail your Articles of Organization and your Cover Sheet, along with the filing fee, the state will review and process your documents. If there are any issues with your filing, the state will notify you by mail or by email, telling you what corrections need to be made. The state will also hold your filing fee until they receive your corrected documents. If there are no issues with your filing, your LLC will be approved in 7 to 10 days. Once your LLC is approved, you'll receive back a certified copy of your Articles of Organization by mail or by email. This confirms your LLC is now a legally formed business in the state of North Carolina. Please keep the certified copy of your Articles of Organization with your business records. Do not order your EIN, also known as your Federal Tax ID number, or start to use your LLC for any business purposes until you've received this approval. Once your LLC is approved, paperwork with the state is not over. As a part of the ongoing requirements for your LLC, North Carolina requires that you file an annual report and pay a yearly fee. Also, depending on your type of business, you will be required to file state taxes. We will discuss these items in later lessons. We are now ready to fill out the Articles of Organization and the Cover Sheet. You can download these documents below this video. Let's get started. Let's first take a look at the cover sheet, since this is a simpler document and it's just one page. Please note that this form can be filled out on the computer, or it can be printed and filled out by hand. If you fill it out by hand, please use blue or black ink. Also, make sure to print these documents on white paper that is letter sized. That's your standard 8.5 by 11 inches. Also, I have a professional version of Adobe Acrobat with lots of functionality. You likely have the free version of Adobe Reader. However, you should still be able to type inside the document, but if you have any issues, again, simply print out the document and then fill it out by hand. Also, one more important thing to make note of. Below this video, you will find the most up-to-date mailing address and filing fee information. At the time of this recording, the mailing address that you see in this video may be outdated, so please use the address that we have listed below this video. Alright, let's get started. In the first section under personal name, you're going to list your name. I'm going to be using dummy information just as an example. I filled in John Doe. Next, you're going to enter your phone number. Under business name, you're going to put the name of your LLC. Remember to include the designator, LLC, or L.L.C. Here's my sample company, ABC Widgets. You'll notice here I've used a comma. The comma is optional, so you can leave one in if you'd like, or you can leave it out if you prefer. Next, you're going to enter your mailing address on 2 lines. Next, you're going to enter your email address and your fax number if you have one. For this example, I'm not going to include the fax, since email is fine. Under customer reference number, you can leave this blank as it's not applicable. Next, we have a check 1 for 2 different sections here. The first is about the speed of your filing. The regular process here is what I'm going to go with, which is 7 to 10 days. However, if you need an expedited filing and you need your LLC approved quicker than that, you can do a 24-hour guarantee or a same-day guarantee for an additional $100 or an additional $200. Again, for this example, and what most people usually do is just go with the regular process. 7 to 10 days is fine. In the next section, we're going to select how we would like to receive our certified copy of the Articles of Organization. That's the approval of the LLC. In this case, I'm going to select e-notification to be notified at this email address. However, if you'd like to receive it by mail, just go ahead and check off Mail to above. Again, I'm going to check off e-notification. Special notes you can leave blank unless you have something specific you need to mention to the state. However, in this example, I do not. And then in the next section, under Filings Only and Orders Only, these you can leave blank. These are for the state, and they will fill that out when they receive this document. Again, pretty simple. You're just going to list your name, your phone number, the name of the LLC, your physical mailing address, your email address, and then check at which speed you'd like your LLC approved, and then how you'd like that approval, whether by mail or by email. You're going to print this document out. You don't need to sign it. Simply just print it out, and we're going to include this with the Articles of Organization. All right, let's shift gears and let's take a look at the Articles of Organization. Okay, here we are in the Articles of Organization. This is a 3-page PDF document. Page 1 has instructions, and pages 2 and 3 are the actual form. Feel free to read through the instructions if you'd like, but we've already covered this information in the video. All right, let's scroll down to page 2 and let's start filling this document out. Some of the boxes are in red, and that means that they're required. First section, you're going to list the name of your LLC. Let me first zoom this document in a little bit so you can see it better. There we go. I'm going to list the LLC in this example, ABC Widgets. Again, same thing as the cover sheet. Make sure to include the designator LLC or L.L.C. and the comma is optional. Make sure you capitalize the words in your business the way you'd like it to appear. Next, in section 2, we're going to list the name and address of each person executing these Articles of Organization. Also, it says state whether each person is executing these Articles of Organization in the capacity of a member, an organizer, or both. In this case, if you're forming your LLC yourself, you're going to be the member and you're going to be the organizer. Also, if you're a multi-member LLC with 2 or more members, each of those members, we also recommend that you list them as an organizer as well. An important thing to note here is that each person that's listed also needs to sign this document. Again, we recommend that all members fill in their name and their address, and they all sign the document as a member and an organizer. For this example, let's say that this is a multi-member LLC with John Doe and Mary Doe. I'm going to fill in their name and address in section 2. Don't worry that the first box has a larger font than the second one. It's just the way they formatted the boxes. They didn't make sure they're the correct font size. It's not important. All right, number 3, the name of the initial registered agent. So if you are representing your LLC and you're going to be the registered agent, you're going to put your name here. Or if it's a friend or family member, you're going to list their name and their address in section 4. Actually, this is one important thing to make note of. Numbers 3, 4, and 5 are all related to your LLC's registered agent. Let's see how this document would look if John Doe is going to be the registered agent for the LLC. Let's fill his name in section 3. Then we're going to list the street address and county of the initial registered agent office. In this case, it's the same address where John and Mary live, as this is a street address. Remember, no P.O. box is allowed. Okay, I've filled in John's street address here and listed the county where it's located. Number 5, again, this is related to the registered agent. It says the mailing address, if different from the street address of the initial registered agent office is. Now, just a warning, this document's a little bit confusing because as you scroll down further, there's also number 6, which asks for the principal address, and then down here there's another mailing address section. It can get a little confusing, so bear with me, I'll try to make it as clear as possible. Number 5 is most likely going to be left blank. It's basically saying, even though you've listed a street address here, if you want to get your mail somewhere else, please list that address here. If that's the case for you, it's kind of rare if it is, feel free to include that additional address here. If you don't need it, just leave it blank. So here's how this document's going to look. If you or a friend or a family member represent the LLC and you have a street address in North Carolina. Now, if you don't have a street address in North Carolina or you don't want to be the registered agent for your LLC, let's say that you've hired Northwest Registered Agent. I'll quickly fill out sections 3 and 4 and show you what that would look like. Okay, here's sections 3 and 4. Filled out with Northwest Registered Agent's information. We have their company name here and their street address in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is in Wake County. Again, this is how your document's going to look if you've hired a commercial registered agent, or it may just have your name and your address or a friend or a family member's name and address. I'm going to revert back to John Doe as the registered agent and we'll continue on with this document. All right, moving onwards, again, number 5, the mailing address if different than the street address in 4. In this example, I'm going to leave this blank as it does not apply. Okay, number 6 has to do with what's called your principal office information. You're going to select either A or B. A states the limited liability company has a principal office, and then we would fill that information in here. And if we scroll down to page 3, which is the second page of the articles, you can also check off B if you do not have a principal office. Let's explain that a little bit. Scroll back up to number 6. Now let's say that you're the registered agent for your LLC, and this street address that you've listed here is also the principal office address of your business. In that case, you're going to check off A, and then under the principal office telephone number, you're going to list your phone number here, and then under street address, you're going to include the address, city, state, and zip, and the county. Again, it's going to be identical to number 4. Then, under here, this is where this document gets a little bit confusing. Again, bear with me. Here it says the mailing address, if different from the street address above, for the principal office. Again, the mailing address is only going to be used if you cannot or do not want to get mail at this address. You can list an alternative address. Again, it's a little bit overkill, so most likely you're just going to list the phone number and the principal office address here, which is also going to be the mailing address, and the county, and you can leave this mailing address section blank. Now, having said that, if you don't have a storefront or an office or a brick and mortar location, or you don't want to list a principal office address, you can also just come down here and simply check off B. If that's the case, let me uncheck A, and we're just going to say to the state, hey, we don't have a principal office address. The address that you have on file here, whether it's ourselves as the registered agent of the LLC, or it's a commercial registered agent, that address is good enough, they can send their mail to you there. All right, hopefully that covers the address section. We can move onward on this document. Let's say for this example, we're just going to check off the limited liability company does not have a principal office address. Number 7 is most likely not going to be applicable. It states if there are additional provisions that they're attached to this filing. Again, most of our customers don't need to attach additional provisions, so you can disregard number 7. Number 8, it says please provide a business email address, and again, this is optional, but we do recommend it if you want to get notified. What that means is if you read this paragraph down here, it says the state will email the business automatically whenever a document is filed. The email address that you provide here will not be viewable on the website, so it's private. In this case, I recommend it, so I'm going to list the email address for John Doe. Next, number 9, the articles will be effective upon filing unless a future date is specified. Now, so long as it's not in the months of November or December, we recommend leaving this section blank. What that means is simply that your LLC goes into existence the date that it's received and approved from the state. Having said that, again, if this is November or December and you don't really need the business open at the end of this year, we recommend that you fill in section 9 and put a date in January, or you simply just wait and you file these documents in the month of January. The reason being is that if you don't need your business open in November or December and it's approved in those months, you're going to owe a tax return most likely for those few months, and it's a little bit tedious and just an extra headache and cost you don't have to pay with a tax professional or a CPA. So again, if it's not November or it's not December, or you don't care about the fact that you'll have to file taxes and you need to open your business right away, just leave this blank. And again, that just simply means that your LLC is effective on the date it's received by the state. Do note that you cannot date this more than 90 days out. Basically, your cutoff is October 1st. Meaning you can't file this in August and say make it effective in January. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, you cannot change the effective date to more than 90 days out from the date of your filing. For this example, number 9, we're just going to leave blank. We're going to let this business become effective when it's approved by the state. Next, in the date section, we're first going to list the day of the month. Let's say it's the 5th, and let's say it's March, and let's say it's 2015. Pretty simple. Next, in the signature box, again, remember in section 2, it says that all names that are listed in section 2 must sign this document. So first, this box here is going to be for John Doe. It may look a little bit confusing at first since there's an extra line at the top and then the signature line, and then it says type or print the name and title. This section is going to be blank here most likely. This is only if a business is doing this filing, and since you're filing directly, we're going to ignore that. So under here, you're going to list your name and then put comma, member, and organizer. I'm going to fill in John Doe as an example. There we go. Now after I print out this document, John Doe, or myself in this example, is going to sign here on this line. Again, that first line is going to be left blank. Now because this is a multi-member LLC, just for this example, having said that, if you're a single member LLC, you're just going to have to sign right there and list your name, member, and organizer. Now in this case, I'm going to go down here, and this is for additional members and organizers. In this case, I'm going to list Mary Doe and write member and organizer. All right, and once I print this document out, Mary's going to sign here, John's going to sign here. They're going to include this document with the cover sheet and the filing fee, send that off to the state, and wait 7 to 10 days for their LLC to be approved. Let's just do a quick run through to make sure we have all the sections here. Again, page 1 is instructions. Here we go. Page 2, section 1, name of the LLC. Section 2, the names and addresses of all the members, which are also going to be the organizers. Section 3 and 4 is the name and address of the registered agent and their registered office, the street address located in the state of North Carolina. In this case, John Doe is going to be the registered agent for the LLC, and we listed his address. If you're hiring a commercial registered agent, you would put the business name here and their address here. Number 5, again, most likely going to be left blank. I don't think you need a different mailing address from the street address, but use one if you want to receive mail elsewhere, if you're representing the LLC as the registered agent. Section 6 is if you have a principal office location, such as a storefront, brick and mortar, office, etc. If that's the case, you check off A, fill in your address here, and also include your phone number. Or if you don't have a principal office address, you can just check off B. Again, this section down here, the mailing address, if different than the street address for the principal office, most likely you're going to leave that blank. Number 7, you can disregard. Number 8, fill in your email address. Number 9, the effective date upon filing. Again, future date this if it's maybe the end of October, November, December. You can list January 1st of the following year. Or if you're filing, January into October, you can just leave it as is. And by leave it as is, I mean you can leave it blank. Next, you're going to list the day of the month, and then the last 2 numbers of the year. Put your name, comma, member and organizer, and if you have more members, please list their names as well as member and organizer below. Print this document out. All the members sign where it says signature. You mail this along with a cover sheet and the filing fee, and then you wait 7 to 10 days for your LLC to be approved. Once your LLC is approved, you can then proceed to the next lesson. And that concludes this video.